Wide Angle Conversations, an initiative of Life by Design. Because stories are powerful, capable of igniting change and enabling success in others. This is Season 4, and I am your host, Taruna Aggarwal. My guest today is Zahira Sughra Zainuddin. Zahira is the head Group Special Projects for Strategy and Transformation for Petronas Lubricants International. Hi Zahira, welcome to Wide Angle Conversations.
Hi Taruna, always a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, and I so wished, that we could meet and do this in person, but because of COVID restrictions, we've had to move it to Zoom.
I know. I was looking forward to coming over and speaking to you, but it's okay. We can do it another time.
Yes, we'll do that for sure. So Zahira is talking to us today from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Zahira, you have what I would say a wide angle view of the corporate world, right? With extensive experience ranging from organization level, strategy shaping, culture change, talent, and other transformation programs on the one side, and then stakeholder management, commercial negotiations, business development, etc. on the other hand. And you are very passionate about building inclusive cultures and humanizing the workforce. What makes the cause so important to you?
Thanks, Darren. Actually, that's a very good question. For me, I really feel that this has been a journey of discovery for me. I found this very interesting saying, and it said, sometimes you don't find your purpose finds you. And, I really believe and hold, that holds very true for me because I know I am very passionate about humanizing, but I don't think it was something, I went out seeking to do, but it just came to me. And for me, what I see today in this so-called connected world, that we call, we're becoming actually less and less connected at the core of our being, right? So I would like to address that. The workplace, it's a very integral part of who we are. We spend so much time of those of us who work. And that's why it's so important that at the workplace, we actually really, bring ourselves, behave like human beings and not be robotic about how we manage ourselves and others. So I think it is important, and that's why I feel this cause is important.
Diversity and inclusion has been on the agenda of organizations for, say, 2 decades or so. It hasn't lost any steam, and in fact, it has become even more relevant today. So, what do you think? Is focusing on diversity and inclusion an imperative for organizations as we move forward?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think no organization can be sustainable or survive in the long run, if it's not inclusive in nature. And today's world, like I said, okay, when we're so connected, and I'm talking from that social media lens and the likes, right? People will call you out, right? Whether as an individual or an organization, if they believe that you're out of line, if they believe you're not doing something that's right and just. So, but firstly, maybe we really need to understand what do we mean by being inclusive. I think that's an important question as well, right? And for me, I believe that at the core, it's really about embracing each other for what we are, and allowing all of us to become that best version of ourselves. So I think that's very important when we talk about being inclusive. And when we talk back, we talk from the lens of the organization. It's so important for organizations, and they see from a business lens, right, more than anything else, to see this as a business imperative, because it's not that we cannot assume that this is something nice to have, because really it's a need to have, because it's the right thing to do. And I think ultimately, not doing the right thing will cost you as an organization, because people will not want to be associated with you, and your brand will also suffer in the end. So it is really, really, I think, a necessity today, especially, right? Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And as you were saying, right, what I also see that the growing narrative around diversity and inclusion is actually to bring people, to allow people to bring their whole self to the workplace, to be themselves, to feel valued and respected. That is where, the organization should be moving to. But currently, what do you think are the barriers in the current corporate environment that stop this kind of an inclusive culture to develop?
Well, I am a total believer that we need to bring our whole self to the workplace, right? And that is something
Mm,
I started personally championing for at my organization. But
okay.
maybe the question I would like to ask before I even address the barrier issue is, why is this important in the first place, right? And I think we must recognize that, today the world has changed and our way of working has changed. I mean, of course, in the last year, it has been complete disruption and complete change. But, we talk a
Absolutely.
lot, but even before the pandemic, we were talking about industrial 4.0, IR 4.0 being the digital age, right? But to me,
Mm-hmm.
I always, and I say this to everyone, I see it as that human age more than the digital age. And why I say it
True.
is because as things become more and more automated, more and more digital, our ability to become more human is all that more critical and all that more essential. So, so when you ask me what's the barrier, I do believe, today a lot of organizations still act and behave like we are in the past industrial revolutions. So if you think about,
Mm,
1.0, 2.0, 3.0, people were tasked to work like it's a production line, right? It's that era where you have set timings to work, break times and all that. And of course today it still exists in the production environment. But I think we need to evolve that mindset in the corporate offices, right? Where the lines of work and life are so blurred now, and we're expected to do things 24/7. So, it's not that you have a set time that you can work and a set time that you don't. The lines are blurred,
mm.
and that's why this becomes an issue. So to me, it's a mindset barrier more than anything else, if you ask me. Yeah.
That's true. And as you were saying about us not being robotic and more human, and as you see right now, the workforce is becoming really, really diverse, right? It's the first time that we have four or more generations working
Yes.
together in the workplace.
Yeah.
Value and purpose are the a stronger driving force for people right now. So
Yeah.
how should organizations manage these new emerging dynamics in the workplace?
Yeah. No, for me, right, I think it's amazing to have such diversity in the workplace,
Yeah.
because that's where you get more richness in ideas, more richness in creativity, and you get to see things from so many different lenses, right? And it helps push
Right.
the boundaries of innovation and seeing things differently. So, for me, it's a positive thing. If you again switch your mindset and think about it from a positive lens, it is a positive thing, because you do see that much more diversity in thought and ideas, and I said richness, right? But
Mm,
you mentioned value and purpose as a driving force and also a huge challenge for organizations, right? But
true.
to me, value and purpose should be paramount to any organization, right? Because if you don't know what you stand for as an organization, then what do you stand for exactly? And people will suss you out. I mean, people will suss you out. And I think people come to an organization because they want to have meaning and purpose in what they do. And that to
Mm.
me is what drives performance, and which ultimately will deliver the profits. So to me, this is and should be a priority and focus for any organization. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely should be. And as I have conversations and I'm talking to leaders, sometimes what I kind of hear is that that may impact performance or the KPI or business goals per se. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's always the debate, isn't it? Firstly,
Really?
I think everyone is a leader in their own right, right? No matter where we are
Yeah.
in the organization, in whichever level, right? We lead ourselves
Mm,
always. I think that's the first thing we do. We lead ourselves, and then we lead others when we become managers, and then we lead business, right? As we move higher up in the organization, and I think it's so important, and I know this even from personal experience. And as you move up in your and in the organization, it's not so much about delivering on your own as it is about delivering through others or through people or through your team, right? And that
true.
is the reality of running a business or an organization. It is about teamwork. It is about delivering through people. So enabling
Mm,
others, empowering others is to me part and parcel of performance, of KPIs, of meeting business goals. It cannot and it should not be separated, because you can't. Honestly, you can't. And
yeah.
I think also important is, when people feel valued, when people feel respected, they themselves will go that extra mile to ensure they deliver value. And I think this is clearly seen, and I think there's enough evidence and research to show that when people are invested and engaged, the bottom line improves as well. So I always say, give people purpose, they will then deliver the performance, and that will drive your profits. Yeah, definitely.
That's right. Yeah, that is in the ideal world, that is how it should be. And it seems like a tall order, to have that balance between managing the business and managing, or developing your people. So that will go on. I think that's an important part of the inclusive culture debate, per se. So, to kind of conclude, and from all your experience, really, and what I'm hearing you say is that it has to be an effort by everybody, right, from the organization level to down to people on their own. What really needs to change in our approach to diversity, inclusion, and belonging for the needle to move really on the DI dial?
Totally agree. It's a collective effort. You need to put the proper measurements in place. You need to have that accountability from a system level. You need to have it role modeled from the leadership level. And of course, as individuals, we all need to be champions of change to move this, because I think it truly starts with us, right? Because if we
True.
have within our own sphere of influence a lot of ability to change. So that's kind of how I would see it. And if I could say it in 3 words, I always say you need to have courage, compassion, and conviction to make it happen, and you have to stay the course. That's how I see it.
Right, and that's wonderful. Thank you for that message. Yeah, Zahira, that was a very powerful message, as you said.
So much.
And this was a really, really meaningful conversation.
Thank you, Taruna. I am passionate about this topic, so I'm happy to always speak about it. Thank you
That's
so much.
wonderful. So that was Zahira Sughra sharing her views on the rationale of diversity, inclusion, and belonging as a business imperative. Tune in next week for another meaningful conversation.